Welcome to another amazing episode. Today, I'm spending some time with an extraordinary human who is changing the world. Her name is Simone Milasas. She's an innovative business leader, author, and a leading facilitator with access consciousness. Her unique and successful approach to business led to her founding The Joy of Business, a program empowering entrepreneurs to embrace their own unique leadership and business skills. So it's a blessing to welcome to the Luke Mind Power podcast, Simone Milasas.
Hey, Luke, thank you for having me here.
Yeah, thank you for jumping on. I appreciate it. I look forward to learning from you. I know that you've got a pretty amazing journey and you're helping so many people and you're traveling around the world and you're changing the world, you know, and it's a very similar mission to what I'm doing. I'm just doing it virtually at the moment, using social media. So yeah, thank you so much for jumping on.
Well, thank you for having me here. Yeah, look, it's been something I have, desired to do and be for a really long time, even since I was a teenager at school, and everyone, always spoke about different things that they wanted to do. And I was like, I want to change the way people look at the world. I want people to appreciate the planet. And, but I didn't really talk about that much because I thought people are going to think I'm cuckoo and I need to be taken away, like Order the Men in the White Coats or something, for everything I saw how the world could be. So I just kept moving towards that, no matter what it took and no matter what it looked like.
Amazing. It's powerful stuff. So tell us, where is this drive and where is this motivation and where is this real burning desire within yourself come from? Obviously I know one thing that definitely a lot of people have been through in their life causes them to think twice or to change, or, especially if you've gone through some hardships or some real adversity. Is that the same story for you, that you had to go through something really rough and tough and shit and crap and for you to really step up and go, hey, you know what, this is not the life I was born for. I'm going to make some positive changes and heal myself or change my environment, or let us understand and appreciate your journey.
Let us in. Look, yes and no. It's like there's some really pivotal moments in my life where I went, oh, and I sort of started to change. But I do get that it's like, I was born in, you'll know this, it's like I was born in Sutherland Shire in Sydney, Australia, which is, it's like down near Cronulla Beach. It's like, it's just normal, it's like, you've got your white picket fence, it's almost like, I was saying to someone yesterday, it was almost like white supremacy. It's like, there's nothing different there, it's like, everyone's happy and that's what it is. And I never had this sense that I fitted in. I was always like, I don't fit, but trying to fit in, like desperately trying to fit in. But it was like, this doesn't, I'd look outside and go, why are people choosing this? Why are people choosing the trauma and drama? Like, I spoke to someone yesterday and I was saying how I grew up with my mother saying, those bloody Asians. And I was like, as a kid, I would go, well, what did the Asians do, Mom? Because it was like, obviously she's my mum. They must have done something wrong. And then she would yell at me for arguing with her. But I wasn't aware at the time. I was just growing up with someone who was incredibly racist. But I was like, they must have done something wrong. And so my dad was totally different. He was a really kind, generous man, but he was always at work. And so growing up with that, I think it's really interesting what you grow up with and then how you determine your choices and your future. And it never made sense to me how my mother spoke. But then I was told that I was a terrible, awful child because all I did was argue with her. So I'm going to say one of the first things I did was take drugs, because I was like, I can't find anything in this world that matches what I know can exist. So me being me also, I don't just take drugs. I got very into drugs. Like I was like, I started dealing and everything in Sydney because I wrote the book Joy of Business, right? I often tell this story that the difference between me and someone in jail was I didn't get caught. Like I was like, I like taking drugs. How do I work this out so that it's not costing me a fortune? So I got these two English guys to invest in me. And then, started dealing drugs, etc. So I didn't have to pay for it and I could make money. To me, it was just the joy of business. Like, hey, if I'm going to do this, let's make it fun and let's create a revenue stream. At the time, that's how I looked at it. So, and I did that for quite some time. And I'm going to, at one stage, I remember I turned 30 And I was like, oh, Simone, you got to start looking at this. You're doing everything. Like you were, smoking cigarettes, drinking, smoking pot, taking chemical drugs, like all of it. And I went, you got to give something up. Like you got to let something go. So the first thing I let go was smoking cigarettes. And when I did it, it's interesting. Like when I chose to let go of something, I just did it. Like I was like, done. And so many people would talk to me about, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, which just made me want to do it more. I was like, you don't get to tell me what to do. And then there's so many instances within that period of time. Like I went and lived in London for quite some time as well, and traveled around Europe for 3 years, which really changed my perspective on a lot of things. I always wanted to see, wasn't necessarily seeing, monuments and museums, which I did include. It was more about how are people living? Like, how are people being in the world? And there was this one moment, I was actually in London in Camden Town, and I was really poor. Like, I was living in one of those 3 bedrooms, 21 people, 1 bathroom, backpacker,
hostels,
filled with Aussies and Kiwis and South Africans. And so to get space, I would go on one of those big red buses, and I was riding a lot, and I was riding, and I saw this music artist. Actually, it was Madonna. I saw her, and she was wearing this T-shirt, and it said something on it that was quite derogatory. And I remember looking at her thinking, God, you have the power and the potency to have something on your T-shirt that can change the way people view themselves, view each other, and view the world. And yet you're wearing that. And at that moment, I went, what could I create that could change this? So I started creating a whole T-shirt line. And that was one of the first businesses I started, called Good Vibes for You. And did this whole T-shirt line with different sayings from people that I'd met all over the world, like in my travels. And my sense was, I'd like to empower people to get that there's something different available. There's a different possibility. And so I created that. And then I met Gary Douglas and Dane here. And it was the first major class that I went to in Access Consciousness, where I was actually going to, again, Splendor in the Grass, like Byron Bay, the next weekend, a music festival, because I used to work at the music festivals all the time. And I was going there, and I had 25 ecstasy tablets in my pocket.
When you say working, you were selling, you mean? Is that what you mean?
No, I was selling my line of clothing.
Oh, you're selling your clothing, and you're dealing as well.
I wasn't
really
dealing by then, because I was making money elsewhere.
Yeah, fair enough.
That was just recreational.
Okay,
No, I dealt in Sydney probably what I did do was I dealt in Sydney for about 2-3 years. And then I had a target in mind, and I went, I want to make X amount of money so that then I can start my own business. And as soon as I made that money, I stopped dealing. Yeah. The guy that I was dealing with, I think he's still dealing. I don't know. I was like, no, you're meant to stop. I was like, you're meant to do it like this. And then, and I was like, all good businesses in Australia started like that. Billabong started, anyway. So that was me justifying my choices. So I was dealing drugs for 2-3 years, made a certain amount of money, and then started designing my own clothing and doing all of that and creating a business. Like that's what I really wanted to do. So by that stage, it was just recreational, But I went to this class with Gary Douglas, and I sat there in the class listening to him, and I was like, oh my God. And I just started crying. And he had a break, and he came over to me, and he went, are you okay? And I went, yeah. I said, but you got me on the drug thing. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, I've got 25 ecstasy tablets in my pocket for next weekend for, myself and my friends. And he said, choosing drugs and choosing consciousness is like sitting on the edge of a fence. He said, one day you'll end up impaled. And he wasn't saying it was bad. He wasn't saying don't do it, which I was so grateful for. And I went, okay. And I walked outside, and I'm like crying, and I'm looking at this whole like situation that I'm in. And I walked, and I thought, you know what, Simone, it's a beautiful day in Queensland. You can go to the beach, or you could go back in and find out what the hell this guy's talking about. So I did that. And from that day on, I didn't touch drugs. And that was a long time I was taking drugs. And I didn't touch drugs then. And I went, wow, what this guy is talking about, him and Dane, like with Access, I went, that's what I've been trying to create with my business. That's what I've been trying to, empower people with, except I just wanted to like grab them by the shoulders and shake them and say, don't you know, there's a different possibility, like, come on, and from then I became, well, I'm one of the major players of access consciousness now. It's like I've been working with the business for over 21 years, so which has been amazing. So I like to say I've had a colorful life. That's how I would describe everything I've been and done.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, we have to come from somewhere, and then, you know, it's trusting the process and believing in yourself and making the right changes so that you can obviously be able to express yourself with the energy and the neutrality or balance of being in flow with yourself. Because obviously, you know, I know in terms of drugs and you know, I've been there and did that for many years. But it's the point of, you know, you being in that workshop and feeling emotional, knowing you've got 25 ecstasy pills, knowing what they make you feel like when you take them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So because I mean, I've done it, in the past many times, the MDMA or ecstasy or whatever you call it. But again, it gives you this sense of euphoria. It gives you this sense of ecstasy, of like amazing feeling of like, wow, it's heaven on earth or whatever. So how were you able to say, okay, I'm going to not touch this anymore because I feel better naturally?
Well, I think, look, I was always looking for that. And I mean, because if you've been there, done that, I think most Aussies have some period of their life where they go through that as well. And it's especially in Sydney. When I was born and bred in Sydney, it was like, you know, paramount. The reason why I started taking drugs was to look for something different, because I looked out and I was like, it doesn't make sense to me. Nothing makes sense to me. You know, my mother saying, those bloody Asians, you know, everyone, you know, going, I'm going to school, then I'm going to go to college and get married and have kids and do all that. And I was like, oh my God, where am I? Like, you know, this is like, there's so much more out there. There's a whole world out there and there's a whole world of possibilities. And everyone was like, you know, corporate jobs. Like I remember I was working at Bondi markets and Glebe markets with clothes that I'd imported and doing all this. And one day my friend said to me, when are you going to get a real job? And I was like, oh, that's their point of view. I don't have a real job, but I'm actually making more money than them. You know, I'm like having fun and off to the beach, you know, during the week or whatever, but they're in corporate. That's supposed to be the right choice. And like you said before, it's like trying to make the right choice. To me also, it's not necessarily making the right choice. It's choose like what is in your heart, in your guts, that you would actually like to choose. You'll find out if it works or not. And when it doesn't work, you go, okay, then I'm going to choose something different, but explore living. And I get that's what I was doing with drugs. So, and I desired this different reality. So when Gary started talking about the tools of access consciousness, I went, that this is it. This is what I've been looking for. Like these people are talking about this different possibility here on planet Earth, but being in communion with the Earth. And because that's what I always used to look outside and be like, don't people get it? This planet is amazing. Like the animals, the, you know, the birds, the ocean, all of it. It's like, wow. And then so many people just ignore it. So that was one thing I just couldn't get how most of this of society was living. So for me, drugs was the next step. So then when I came across access and I went, oh, this is what I've been looking for. Because I mean, drugs are great when you're on it too, but you know, coming off drugs is not exactly the most fun thing in the world. So yeah, so this just matched the energy. And, you know, I said to Gary too, I told him I had these drugs and he went, well, what are you going to do with them? And I said, I'll sell them. And he went, I've got a better choice than that. And I said, what's that? And he said, flush them down the toilet. And I went, hey, you know what? Baby steps. I went, do you know how much money that is? So I was at Splendor in the Grass and I sold them there. I did sell them there for cost price. And I was at Splendor in the Grass for 3 days and I had 2 beers in 3 days and nothing else. And it was just wild to be at this music festival with nothing and choose something different. But you asked right at the beginning, Luke, about those moments where you choose something different. And I think all of us have it in us to make that choice to choose something different in every area of our life. And yet so often we wait for our friends or our family or, you know, your partner to give you the thumbs up rather than going, I'm choosing this for me. Because I freaked a lot of people out at Splendor in the Grass when they would come up and they'd be like, oh, what are you on? Or how did it? And I was like, nothing. I've had one beer. And they were like, looked at me and ran away. And I went, wow, I'm making them so uncomfortable with my choices. And what if it was okay to make people uncomfortable with your choices because you were choosing for you?
Yeah. And I mean, again, it goes back to you wanting to fit in or to, you know, being included. And I mean, I know myself that I felt very different. I felt like there was something wrong with me for so many years. And I think that's part of like, it's human nature that we want to be a part of community, tribe, accepted, you know? So I think that what you're pointing in terms of the drugs is really powerful, because you wanted something else. So in order for you to get something else, you were ingesting or taking drugs, which gave you something else. It gave you a new world. It gave you a new experience that you were struggling to find, being who you were, right? So this is what this whole journey of self-discovery is all about, of self-inquiry, of taking action, of trying different things. You don't know what you don't know. So it's up to you to take action on this life that you have and go out there in search of something that is going to connect with your soul. And you found something different other than drugs that you connected with. Yeah. And it took over.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's me. You know, it's like, I don't know, it's like that more, like I said, the earth has always been something that I've felt very close to, like not for Captain Obvious reasons, we walk upon it, like, but it's like just really like hearing the birds and the ocean. And I've always just loved water, any form of water. It's like jump in and you're like, oh, I'm a different person now, you know, jumping in the ocean, etc. And that's you, I get that from that. I mean, you explained like when you're on ecstasy, it's like that euphoria. And when you're with people and you're just like, there's no barriers. There's no judgment. It's just like, hi, you know,
I know.
you don't question if you're going to hug someone or not. You just hug
like
them.
Everyone's your best friend.
Yes. And so why the hell can't we have something like that? I mean, why can't you just walk up, not, you know, like little kids walk up to each other and they just sort of go, do you want to play? And they don't even care what your name is or anything. It's like, they're not going, oh, how much time do you have? Or, you know, we do all this stuff. And it's like, kids are just like, hey, you know, what if we could be on this planet where they're like, if we had no judgment and we were willing to be all of us and we didn't judge ourselves and we weren't trying to fit in or find a reference point, you know, is anyone else doing this before I do it? Like checking in. It's like, then what planet could we live on? To me, that's the world I you know, like, let's go.
Because everyone's in their own heads. And by the time you get to 20, 30, you've been programmed so freaking heavily with your view and perception of what's acceptable, what you like, what you don't like, what's right, what's wrong. What are the type of people that you can surround yourself with, or the type of people that you're happy to be around with because of everything that you've been through and what you've been raised through. So you look at people from the physical standpoint by judging a book by its cover.
Yep. The socioeconomic standard. And it's like, why? Like I was in Sydney, went to a private school, and I noticed that private school thing is almost like the Jewish community. It's like, you know, you all associate together and hire within that and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, why? It's the socioeconomic, you know, stratification of how you're supposed to be. But what if it's not?
Yeah, well, this is why what we're doing is powerful, because it's just raising your awareness to, again, my perspective comes from everything that you have within yourself is always projected outwards. So when you're full of love and peace within yourself, that's what you see for other people as well. And that's what you project. And so, I mean, I've had to learn especially living in the Shaolin Temple back in 2019, I became very aware of how I was judging people just by face value, because every single day there was new students coming in. And so after living there for like, a couple of weeks, I was like a dog, this is my playground. I'm protective over this space. So every time a new student would come in, the first thing you would do you would eye them out, and you would look at them, look like a Terminator, everything that they're wearing, scan them, right?
Yeah.
And to see whether or not I like them or not.
And you haven't even spoken to them.
And I haven't even spoken to him. And I just remember this one dude that came from Italy. Where was he from? Germany, but he was originally from Italy. And we were leaving to go get a massage, and we were like, yeah, let's go get a massage. Let's go for a walk. And he just arrived. And when I saw him, they were like, oh yeah, why don't you take, I can't remember his name, but they said, why don't we take him with us? And in my mind, I was like, no, don't invite him. We don't even know who he is. And we don't even know like what he's about or whatever. And that was my instant reaction. And so I remember walking, and we were walking, and he was with us, and I wasn't talking to him because I didn't know who he was. And I was just like talking with the people that I'd known and that I knew. And some other person was talking to him. And so the biggest revelation there, which was really disappointing, and that's why my awareness to, how we judge people was just amplified so much, because after living with him for, a good 6 weeks or 7 weeks, training with him, talking to him, I was so wrong, and it kind of hurts me in a sense where you judged him and you didn't even know who he was, and we do that all the time, every freaking day.
I know, it's a great description, the way you describe that, like the Terminator thing. And the thing is, on the flip side, he perceives that like it's an energetic judgment, this energetic projection that he picks up on. And then what I see is then that person then starts to most of the time shut down as well, or go, oh, here's some barriers, I'll put my barriers up as well. And then it's like, wow, where are we? Like, what if we had no barriers between each other, and we're just like, hi, and then you find out some people are dickheads, some people are assholes, some people are, are funny, some people are not, all of that and more. But it's like, they don't have the expectation of what they should be. It's like, some people you meld with, some you don't. It's like, that's okay. But don't make it right and don't make it wrong.
Yeah. That's why it's all in the mind, really. And that's why even with what you're doing, in terms of, moving from drugs to, stepping into access consciousness, and obviously you're a facilitator as well. Again, it was the power of your mind, the intention, and the awareness of, like, for example, when I stopped using Coke, I thought to myself, how did I do that? I just quit. I had greater priorities. I found something that I was, working towards, and I realized that was something that I could not do anymore. And I didn't go to rehab. I didn't get a counselor. I didn't get a therapist. I didn't reach out for external support. I just made a freaking choice, made a decision, so I think this is what this experience is teaching us, is like, get out there and freaking start doing shit and experiencing life and trying different things and try and figure yourself out. Because if you're constantly escaping using that and you think that that's all there is, well, eventually your body's just going to deteriorate because of, the extensive use of the escaping through, chemical drugs.
Yeah. And I just want to add one thing though, because you it's very similar, the way you talk about that you just chose to stop. And I did that too. And I just chose to stop. And I would say yourself and me are not addicts. And I have a really good friend at the moment who is in the US, who is discovering that he's an addict and with alcohol, and he is in AA and doing rehab, etc. And there's something about the way his body is with alcohol that one of the things that they say too is your body is allergic to alcohol. So then you crave it. And So there are some people, like if you're listening to this podcast, you may be like Luke and myself that have that place that just goes, I can choose something different, and you do. And you also may be someone that actually requires an outside something to contribute to you, to help you to change something. I just want to add that in because I know that my friend
I mean,
can't do it on his own.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying
Yeah.
don't go and get help, or don't. It's like saying,
Yeah.
you
No,
know,
I
to
know.
my
I just
clients, oh,
wanted
you
to,
can do it on your own. Yeah, 100%, man. Like if you don't ask, the answer will always be no. You know, if you don't, you know, don't ever feel, you know, some people feel like, oh, I don't want to ask for help, you know. And it's like, nah, man, do whatever the hell you can to get yourself to where you want to be.
Yes. And most people are really desirous to actually help another being. Like with everything. I mean, I find even in business, like the way I started a lot of stuff in Australia was there was a friend of mine who are a couple in Melbourne and they're really successful. And I said, can I take you out to lunch? Can I just ask you questions? And they were like, sure. And we ended up going out to lunch and talking about business and the way they'd set things up. And on a napkin is how they first started like writing out their company structures and how they've done everything. And I took the napkin away and then went to my accountant and was like, hey, I want to set up something like this. But most people, if you ask them, are really desirous to give you information. Like I think it's an innate thing within us that we desire to contribute to others. But when we desire to contribute to others and then it's refused, then we go, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that, you know, and then that barrier goes up rather than like, well, no, hang on, who is actually willing to receive what I have here?
Yeah, it's absolutely. And I mean, yeah, this is the whole, I think it's an amazing journey as well when you step into something new and you're discovering new things. And I mean, let's talk about lessons. I mean, how many years have you been doing business now?
Oh, well, like 35 years or something.
Yeah, wow. And so how many lessons have you had to learn?
Oh my goodness,
And
so
I mean,
many.
because this is what it's all about. Like it's just, it'll keep happening until you freaking learn it. And I'm aware of it. And we've been doing this for like just over 12 months in terms of my own business and coaching. And there's always a lesson. There's always something that screws up. There's always something that happens. And I'm just like, this is why the juice is in the journey. It's not only in that, but in your own development, in your own personal development, is that or in your relationships or in your life, there's always something that is on repeat. And if you don't pick up on that thing that's constantly happening that you're allowing, then you're just repeating the cycle and nothing's going to change if you keep doing the same thing. So how many lessons, and is that the greatest teacher of, you know, your business, is having to go through it, learn the lessons, the mistakes, and then change?
Yeah. And I just lied. I made myself older. I think it's 25 years.
I was
I've been
thinking
doing
35. Geez.
Yeah, I know. And I was just like, I'm trying to do the math. Anyway, so it's about 25 years. And I have done a lot of different things in business, worked for other people, had different, you know, businesses myself. And I'm going to say one of the greatest places that I've gained awareness is when I've quote unquote failed, like when I've lost money or the business hasn't done well. Most people won't step into business because they don't want to fail. And it's like, please just make a choice, choose it. Like I've made money in different areas and I've lost money. I've, you know, created companies and I've lost companies, had to close them down, etc. And it's not relevant really about all of that. Like, don't make that relevant because I see people go, oh, well, my family lost money, so I'm never going to start a business. And it's like, no, you're different. And it's like, there's different possibilities available. But like I said, every time something like that has occurred, I've gained so much awareness. And it's created me to be a better, greater, you know, business person, being in the world, all of that and more. So like, for me, it's like business is the adventure of living. So explore it. Like if you want to choose something, go for it. It's like, you know, I mean, I grew up with, my dad was a chartered accountant. So he taught me a lot about, you know, the basis, I guess, of business, which I hated because I always wanted to just be creative. And he said to me, Simone, you can't have a creative business unless you know the finances. And I got cranky at him because I went, I want to just be creative. And he also had all these different businesses on the side. Like I remember at one stage growing up, we were part owner of a butcher shop, you know, and then the picnic table craze came out. It's like that, a clothing company, you know, dealing with India and etc. So he was always, you know, putting his investing in different things and seeing how they showed up, and some worked and some didn't. So I sort of grew up with that mentality with my dad as well. It's like I said before, there's a whole world of possibilities available. So it's not about choosing right, it's about choosing.
Yeah, that's why I say there's no right or wrong. There's no rule book to life of, this is how you need to do it.
Nope.
It's just taking the action. And I always say that, there's this one quote that says that the risk that you're afraid to take could change your life. And I'm like, no, it will change your life. Make the choices, decide, take action. I say indecision is the cause of all worry. It's the reason why you're worried and not happy nor content is because you're just not making decisions. You're just staying stagnant,
Or people worry about something before they do it. It's like, you're going to, I don't know, ride a horse on the weekend and there's this big stain or something. You're like concerned and worried about it. It's like, it's not going to get you anywhere. So, but one of the first designs I ever did with my t-shirts, I had the saying of imagine what you would do if you knew you couldn't fail on it. And I lived by that for years.
And how is your t-shirt business at the moment? Do you still have it?
Nope. I got rid of it. I sold it. I was doing really well when I found access. So, I mean, you'll know too, like I was, it's fun talking to an Australian because you would know so many things but I was on tour I ended up doing merchandise for bands, and I was on tour with Pete Murray and Missy Higgins. And it was when Pete was like top of number one in Australia. And I designed his merchandise and was selling it and etc. So a lot of people were sort of going, who are you? What's your company? Let's go, what can we do together? And because there was only one other main company in Australia doing merchandise called Love Police at the time. So there was this moment where I went, wow, I'm, wearing AAA passes, music industry. Is this, getting everything that I thought that I wanted? And this friend of mine, Paulie B from The Beautiful Girls, said to me, hey, are you enjoying being on tour? And I was so grateful for the question, because I went, wow. I was like, yes, but I'd rather be on tour with something else. I'd rather be on tour with this stuff that I've just come across, access consciousness. So it was a really pivotal moment again in the business, because I could have been so successful over here. And yet I went, it's not fulfilling everything for me. So I sort of wound that down and then ended up with access consciousness. So it's, I saw this documentary on the plane on the way home the other day. Moby, the musician.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and it's called Moby Doc, and it was brilliant and he made it himself, this documentary. And he says, you probably think I'm going to make a documentary about my music. I'm not. I'm going to make a documentary about where are you at in life? Like sort of what makes you happy. And he tells all these different stories. And at one point he's like, I think I was my happiest when I was paying $50 a month to live in this, old factory that had no running water, but it had electricity, and, and talks about like the fame that he got, but didn't really get him what it was. And he said, we've all got to stop pretending that we're happy with this, fame, money, fortune, all of this. And he goes, look, I love fame, love it. And he goes, love being famous. But that's not the piece that gives you the happiness. And it was such a cool documentary and how he spoke about it. And he also said, stop apologizing. Like we're all apologizing for, our age, our image, like the way we look, etc. He's like, this is you. Like, don't apologize for how you look or how you be, etc. And it was so empowering. It was very cool. And I get that's what we're speaking about.
Yeah. Les Brown says something similar. He says, money won't make you happy, but everybody wants to find out for themselves.
I love money.
No, I'm not saying, I know that statement actually came out a bit wrong, but what I'm trying to say is that, everyone believes that, when they look at someone who's really successful, that's the happiness,
Yeah, no.
And what you're sharing is I believe it. And I guess this is the whole part of the discovery of, the searching, the looking of like taking action and experiencing different things and feeling what works for you and where you are where is your peace, So I think that's pretty amazing. And I know, I think there's a few people out there that have got to that point where they've been very successful, famous, recognized, and then they share they share their real story, that it's not just about
Yeah.
fame, but it's actually about your own discovery of where is your peace, you know, which is pretty awesome. Very
I
powerful.
know. I would really like people to get that. Like whatever it takes, if you know, listening to this, it's like have a look at what does work for you, because it's like I've mentioned a couple of times, stop referencing others to make the choices that work for you. Like
Mm.
truly for you. And it's like it's there's a whole amazing world out there. I mean, you know, we mentioned money
Yeah,
and
so let's talk about money for a bit, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that, you know, some people say money is the root of all evil. You know, some people think that other people with a lot of money are selfish, or they think that they're better than other people, or stuff like that. Um, and I mean, if I just put in my 5 cents or 10 cents of money, it's more like the more money I get, the more resources I have, the more I build my business, the more I help more people, the more I invest into, you know, making a bigger impact in the world. That's what I'm doing. And obviously I have to have some for myself because I'm working hard and all that kind of stuff. But that's the purpose, you know. I mean, how do you manage it, and how do you see money?
well, how I see it now is really different to how I did see it. I was definitely one of those people who was like, money is awful, I don't need money, and did this whole thing.
Mm,
And then I remember I came home from traveling and years ago, and I had no money. I had to move back in with my parents, and I went, oh, this isn't going to work. I need money, you know. And then I did the thing of justifying why I had money. You know, I'm going to do good things with it. And then one day I was just like, what if I just actually started receiving money in a really different way? So, I mean, the second book I wrote was called Getting Out of Debt Joyfully. And because at one stage I realized I was 187,000 Australian dollars in debt, and I knew I had to choose something different. So I
how
started
long
choosing
ago
something.
was this?
That was about 20 years ago.
Okay.
But I started using Access Consciousness tools to get me out of debt. So the whole
Mm,
book has lots of stories and tools in there to use, and also to create wealth creation. But I would say where I'm at now, it's like I have learned to enjoy money, appreciate it, love it, don't have it as a necessity, but as a choice. I What I've seen is that money doesn't make you mean, it doesn't make you a better person, it just makes you more of who you be.
mm,
Like you said, you can choose what you do and be with your money. Like I just came back from Italy, and when you know all the lockdowns occurred and everything like that, there was this hotel in Rome that I stayed at every year for like 3 times a year for quite some time, because we would do a lot of work in Italy. And my maid, like on the floor, because I'd stay in the same room, she speaks Italian, I speak English, but she's so beautiful. And was just, we always just got on, even though we didn't speak the same language. And she just pinged as soon as all this stuff happened in Italy. And I got a friend to reach out to her just to say, hey, how is she doing? And I had no idea that she was a widow with 2 kids. So I sent her $1,000 then, and she was just like, what? And then in the last couple of years, I've sent her money for her kids for Christmas and stuff like that. And she was like, she was so amazed. And she said, nobody has treated me like that. She said, you're not looking at me like a number or a maid. It's like you're treating me like a person. And I just went there now. You should have seen us when I saw her in the hallway at this hotel. The guy carrying my bags just looked at me, because Viviana and I just like hugged and both burst out crying. But it was like two beings in this world that were willing to honor each other and be grateful for each other. And if I could help her out with some money, it's just money. Like,
I know.
but to
Yeah.
see her be all of
Mm,
her, that's the gift.
mm,
And there's many different things like that, you know, over the past couple of years, especially, that myself and a lot of my friends had this generosity of spirit. And I mean, this friend of mine at Christmas time last year, he said to me, this is what I've given you for Christmas. He rang up Toy World in Australia and he paid off $2,000 on lay-bys just before Christmas. He said, don't tell anyone where it's from. I want $2,000 paid off on the lay-bys for Christmas. Just do that. And I was like, that's such a cool gift. I was like, thank you. But it's like, what if having money is like everything you've been told about having money, you found out was a lie? Because there's a lot of money in the world. And it's like, so I, implore you all, choose it. Because what can we create and be together? I mean, if you have enough money, we could buy the whole of Amazon and then they
Mm,
could stop destroying it.
mm,
It's like,
mm, mm.
let's ask for more money to show up.
Yeah, I mean, the one experience that I went through back in 2020 is I worked with a mentor slash coach in trying to establish my coaching business. And I truly believed that she had the best interests for me at heart, and that she was, I mean, she provided me with so many resources, coaching resources, and just everything felt as if it was real and it was in alignment, and I trusted her, but after 6 months of working with her, I had to make a decision that, I realized that, I'd been deceived, and that, I'd been paying her 10,000 US a month. And everything, it was just constantly being prolonged. Like, we can't start now
Right.
because we have to do this, and we can't start now. And then this has been pushed back. And there was just always an excuse. And in my intuition, like, even after 1 month, there were things that were happening that I was questioning, but I didn't want to question them because I didn't want her to think that I don't believe in her. So I didn't
Yeah.
say anything. And so I was still living in a very, I wasn't really confident in being able to speak my truth and, um, and share what I truly believed was going on. So I just let it go. And it
Yeah.
took me 6 months for me to go broke, have no more money, be in debt, fucking credit card debt as well, because I was just, whatever she wanted, I gave it to her, because I wanted this business to start, right? And so the one question, I've shared this a few times, but the one question that my dad asked me after, I'd invested over $100,000, he said, "Luke, what about the money?" And I said, "Dad, I don't care about the money." I said, "I am the money."
Yeah.
And I wonder how you understand that, and does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Because I wasn't worried about it, because I was like, who cares? The one thing that you can't take away from me is me, who I
Yeah.
am.
No, that's awesome. I love that. And it's true. It's like most people look at something outside of them as the source of creation, the source of creation of money. And it's like, it's not, it's you. You are the source of creation.
Mm.
Like your choices your choices create your day. Your choices create your reality. And it's like, if you were choosing your financial reality, what would you choose? So to me, with that story, it's like, God, what awareness did you gain? How can you put a dollar figure
Oh,
on that? Like, you said after a month, you knew. So then from now, you will never disavow that again with you. It's like, that's priceless.
I know.
And I've got so many stories like that where I lost money or did things and I was like, you have that momentary like, shit, but then you're like, wow, do I have a lot of awareness from this? I become more of me. And then you start to trust you, not trust somebody else. You can trust somebody else, but go with your instincts. Like, we talk about the 5 elements of intimacy, which is gratitude, trust, allowance, honor, and vulnerability. And to me, if you have those 5 elements of intimacy with yourself, like that vulnerability, trust, allowance, gratitude, and honor, then you can have that with others. So then you don't trust someone with blind faith. You trust that they're going to be an asshole, or you trust whatever, but you're not judging it. You're like, well, that's, but you have that with you. And there's a strength in that you are the source of creation, not money.
Yeah, absolutely. So in talking about trust, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that go through hardships, or let's just focus on relationships, for example, that someone does them wrong, or they've been treated badly for so many years, and then eventually they leave and they're like, I can't trust people. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that it's not about you not trusting people, it's about you not trusting yourself.
Yeah.
Which is the problem. So, and in order for you to build trust, in something, it takes time. It takes energy. It takes, investing in someone else or spending time with someone else. You can't just meet someone and trust them straight away, because you don't know really who they are. You've got to take the time to get to know them. Do you feel that is true for you as well in your experiences?
Yeah. And I would say it's sort of linked in with what I was just saying, because it's not about trusting them, it's trusting you. So when you're chatting with someone or you're with someone, it's like you get that gut instinct, or that thing in your chest where you're just like, wow, this person is really kind, or this person is whatever, or you get that like, and that funky feeling where you're like, I got to get the hell out of here. So get the hell out of there. Trust you. And it's like, but again, it's like when people start looking at others at this outside source. I mean, relationships, Jesus, we're brought up with all the Hollywood movies of, find your better half, or you complete me, and da da da. And it's like, that is so much like just crap. It's like, you don't have a better half. You don't have someone who's going to complete you. You are that. And then if you have that with you, my God, what you can have with somebody else then is a creation of something greater. Because if you look at the word relationship as well, in a dictionary before 1937, it literally means the distance between two things. So you go, oh, I'm in relationship with this person. You've just gone, this is the distance between us. So, one of the things I would quite often refer to is, what if you weren't asking for a relationship? What if you were asking for a creationship, which is a word that we made up, but a creationship. And if I'm not going to make up a word, then who is, it's like creationship, where if you're going to be with someone, you create at least 20 times more together than what you would alone. And unfortunately, most of the time, including myself in past relationships, I see people come together and then they go, oh, this is wonderful, this is amazing. And then they start cutting themselves off. They start going, oh, this person won't like this, or I'm not going to do this anymore because he doesn't like this, or she doesn't like this, da da da. And they start like diminishing themselves, rather than, what if you chose to be in a relationship because you chose it, not because it's a necessity, and you became greater, like your partner was empowering you to be greater every day. And it's like, you know what, go off, do whatever it is that you have to do. If you were with someone who, had the point of view, you do whatever the hell you want, like go. It's like, that to me is like refreshing, rather than, now I'm with someone, now I have to check all my, dot my I's and cross my T's and make sure I'm doing the right thing to stay in this relationship. It's like, we don't have to do relationship anymore. It really is a choice. Like, historically, you had to be in relationship to create wealth, or to make sure that you're okay in your older age, have kids so they can look after you. But now we actually have a choice. So what if we chose it because it was creating something greater?
Yeah, I always say, man, like, if you're going to, your environment, does it complement your life? Do the people in your life, do they complement you? Do they inspire you? Do they empower you? And otherwise you're limiting yourself if that's not the environment that you're surrounded by. And especially, with who you attract into your life in terms of relationships. And I mean, I know my own experiences in the past that I would change myself to make them feel as if I was worthy.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And I was like,
I know, it's crazy, isn't
man,
it? Yeah.
So nah, man. I
know.
did that. It's just like, yeah. And it's like you shrink yourself, or you change so that you fit in more with what you think they like.
And that's the key piece, what you think they like, because they've got their own story going on over here, of going, oh, I'm with Luke, da da da, and they've got this whole thing, you've got this, but none of it's communicated. It's all just like hearsay. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm just like, man, be yourself, and if they don't like it, that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I totally agree. And that's a tough thing to choose too, because most people, like, they don't want to lose someone. So you've really got to enter into a relationship or be in a relationship and be willing to lose them every day. Like, because what if you woke up every day and asked, okay, so truth, in your own head, it's like, does this work for me? And if it doesn't work, then start looking at like, okay, so what is it that would have this work? You know, can I ask them to contribute in some way? Can I ask them this? Or you know, like, what do we need to change? But not change as in, you know, like I always say in my classes, if you want to train something, get a puppy, not a man. Because there are so many women out there, and I can say this because I'm a woman. There's so many women out there who've been to my classes that are like, can you get, you know, my boyfriend to do this? And I'm like, no. It's like, what if you were okay with the way he is right now? Like, stop trying to change him. But I mean, like, change, like if you're living with someone and maybe you're the one that's, you know, always cleaning up the kitchen or something, you would go, hey, you know what, I'd really love it if you could help me with the kitchen, you know, every now and then. Like, ask a question, be in question, and then you may figure out that's not their gig, but their gig is something else. Okay, cool, can you deal with that? Yes, move on. But it's like, be in question of your relationship every day. Don't, you know, be willing to lose it. And if you're not willing to lose it, that's when I see people start to diminish themselves in order to try and fit into something that doesn't even exist. It's like this created, you know, reality.
Yeah. And the thing is, this is where your freedom is, though. You know, your freedom is in you actually being free, being yourself.
Yeah.
You know, not shrinking yourself or dimming your light because it makes other people uncomfortable.
Yeah. Be willing to make people uncomfortable. Good point.
Yeah. And I mean, I remember a kind of a mini relationship that I was in last year. And I remember a conversation that was like, you know, are you always like this? Like, can you ever not be, can you ever not be Luke Mindpower? Right. And I was like, well, okay, so you're basically trying to tell me, do I need to be something else, or I can't be the way that I'm being? You know, it's like, well, how do you know how to be something else? Well, I would only try to be something else because I was afraid to lose you and because I wanted and needed your approval. And I'm like, fuck that. I don't need your approval. If you don't like me the way that I am, well, move on.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I had to learn that. I had to go through all these experiences that, you know, I was losing myself for them.
Yeah.
You know, but hey, let's talk about like your speaking and stuff like that. And you also have this a place in Italy or something like that. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah. I'm part owner of a castle in Italy, as one does.
Did you say a castle?
Yeah, it's a castle.
Oh, that's amazing.
I know, it's Casalborgone. It is beautiful. It's an hour and a half outside of Milan. That's where I've just been, and it's like home. I mean, there's a few of us that own it. It's got 14 bedrooms, so it's got a massive ballroom. So we do rent it out for events and things like that. And that's where I've been doing some events. Look, it literally fell across our path one day, and it hadn't been lived in for over 40 years. So it was really run down. And one of the guys, Gary, that I work with, he is the one that looked at it and could see the finished product, whereas I looked at it and went, this is a mess, you know. So, but there's a whole bunch of us who bought it, and now we have this beautiful, beautiful castle. So in Italy. And you know, look, I've been traveling for 9-10 months of the year for the past 17 years. And obviously 2020, I was in Budapest and, you know, got the hell out of there, came home and sort of went, what's happening? You know, am I infecting everyone? Because we had to go into quarantine. I was like, I don't really know what's going on. Like, the world just stopped. It was weird, you know. And so then the last couple of years I've been at home, which I'm going to say I'm really grateful for. I learned to rekindle my relationship with Australia and be really grateful for it. And then now I've started traveling again, and I just came back from 9 weeks. I'm off again in a couple of weeks to America and Costa Rica. We have a property in Costa Rica called El-Lugar, which is, we're building this resort, and it's just so beautiful. I have horses over there, and it's wonderful. The world always has this sense that it's so available to me, and it is available to everyone, but you have to choose it. So yeah, but I travel around the world, do a lot of classes online as well, and I do it's called Business Done Different. So, and it's based on, all of them have access consciousness tools, but that, like I said, that first book that I wrote, Joy Business, Getting Out of Debt Joyfully, I do a class on that, and it's based on my book, Getting Out of Debt Joyfully. And also we do Relationship Done Different classes. And the third book I wrote was, well, I actually wrote it with my ex, which is funny, called Relationship, Are You Sure You Want One? And as that was being launched, we actually split up, which gave our PR agent, a mini heart attack, but we're like, don't worry about it, we got this, So, and we were in question too, relationship, are you sure you want one? And so, yeah, basically do a lot of different classes using access consciousness tools. There's body processes, everything. And to me, the really quick elevator, pitch of it is access can change any area of your life that you think is not working for you. Because most people think they have a problem in an area, but I'm going to propose, what if you had no problem? What if there was just a different choice available?
But then it's like also sticking to the choices and like following through, because obviously, in order for you to achieve something, you've got to be persistent, consistency and dedication. And it's almost like, I was watching a video with Ed Milet. I don't know if you've heard of him. But on YouTube, and he was like, your obsessions become your possessions. And like, if you want something, you have to get obsessed with it. You have to, show up and do the work. And, Tony Robbins says repetition is the mother of skill. If you want to be great at something, you've got to do it all the time. It's like, I think there's possibly a lot of people out there that think that, you can just change just like that and things are just going to happen. And it's like, it's still, you're like, Simone, you're sharing what you're sharing. It kind of sounds like it's so easy. You made it sound so nice, but there's a lot, like you've had to go through a lot in order for you to achieve what you have.
Yeah. And your choices get really uncomfortable sometimes, really uncomfortable, like really, really uncomfortable. And I think that's the moment, like when you're talking about that, people get so uncomfortable that then they stop choosing. Whereas go through run to it, like through the uncomfortable, because then you end up, comfortable, then you end up uncomfortable again. It's like the way it works. Look, I think there's a really fine line between, like, I wouldn't say being obsessed with something or having it be, you must stick to it. Because there's also that moment where, this got me to here, but that's actually not what I want to choose anymore. I want to choose this. Like, even that short story I spoke about with the music industry, I could have gone, I have to keep at this so I can be successful in this. But I realized at that moment, I don't want to be on tour with this. I want to be on tour with this. So I changed everything. With most people went, are you kidding me? You're just reaching this huge level of success in Australia, and now you're like changing. And I went, yeah, because it doesn't match the energy of what it is that I would like to create as my life and in the world. And I think that's the piece. Like, if you sort of come back and go, what is it? What is it that you're asking for? And for me, it was always, how do I create more vulnerability with people? How do I get people to have a look at the planet? Like, to create more awareness, basically. So then anything that came along that matched that energy, I chose. But then I chose a lot of things and then quit, but not quit as in like lazy, quit as in like, okay, I've gone as far as I can here. Let's go over here. Let's go over here, which actually created a lot of the people projecting. Like, every time I went for a job or anything like that, they'd be like, well, your resume is very, colorful. It's got all these different things. So you don't stick to anything. And that was always the judgment. Oh, you don't stick to anything. You can't make up your mind. You can't settle down. And I was like, yeah, you're correct. There's a whole world out there. And I've chosen this and I'm done. Chosen this, I'm done. I've chosen this, I'm done. I've chosen this and I'm done. And that's how I maneuvered, which makes other people uncomfortable. So I think there's that fine line of like, be willing to be uncomfortable yourself and make others uncomfortable too by your choices, but choose based on what matches the energy of what you want to create in the world and what you want to create for you. So if there is something that you're heading towards, it's like, and you realize I'm done. Like, a good friend of mine, which I think you've had on your show, Dr. Dane here, he trained to be a chiropractor. In America, you pay, ginormous fees, to do that. And he did that. And then he found access and went, oh, but if he'd gone, I have to be, obsessed or stick to being a chiropractor because I've paid all this money. And most people have this reason why, then he would be here. Whereas he went, I know this. So I think you got to know when you come to that fork in the road and you go, it's time to pivot and choose something different here, but not from quitting, from changing what it is that is going to create, it's going to create something greater. So I think there's a fine line, and only you know what you can choose that's going to make your life greater.
Yeah, I believe it. And I really put a greater awareness out there in this, if anyone's listening, whatever you're doing, don't think that is the be all and end all. I know myself, like with where I'm at, that, man, who I'm going to be in 12 months time, or in 24 months time, or in 36 months time is going to be completely different. And I know that as you go along this journey, different opportunities will present themselves. Things will evolve, and I'm open to that. This is not the be all and end all, which I think a lot of people get stuck in, that this is what I've created so far in my life, and this is all there is, so I think that's
really, and I
powerful.
would say a question that everyone listening can ask is your whole life, like put your attention on, your relationship, your money, your business, your parenting, I don't know, whatever it is you've got going on, your body, and ask what else is possible today. Like what else is truly possible? But this open-ended question, like if you be in question, then more will show up. It's like, universe, show me something beautiful. Show me what else is possible. And be in question every single day, then you will have more. And yeah, there's some rocky roads, but then at those rocky roads, you're like, okay, what else is possible now?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Simone, I want to finish on fear, because, you're a facilitator and you're someone who stands up in front of people. And I know that one of the biggest fears for people is public speaking, is being seen. I know myself that I came from a very, insecure mindset, doubted myself a lot. I remember working at Service New South Wales as a driving examiner, and a lot of the supervisors or staff would come up and say, Luke, there's a supervisor job, you should apply for it, and I'd be like, nah, I could never do that. I could never get up. I could never be a leader or someone who has to manage staff or deal with, irate customers and stuff like that. And that was, again, the lack of confidence in myself, and just the inner, but also it's not something that I wanted to do. I didn't feel passionate about it. So in order for me to grow, I had to face that fear. And actually one of my first speeches, or I think it was the second or third, was in front of my staff and in front of my team members of where I was working, where just before I finished that job, I got up and I spoke in front of them. And it's still, like, to this day, there is a bit of anxiety there. There is a bit of that fear. And I know, like, how do you overcome it? It's like, well, you go towards it. You have to face it. It's not just going to disappear, but it's also what's unfamiliar, what's uncommon. It's not something that you're used to. So when you going back to, like, when you first started facilitating and speaking and sharing, how much anxiety was there for you? And how long did it take for you to actually overcome that, for you to really step into it and go, now I've got this, and I don't feel anxious. I know what I'm doing.
Well, it's interesting you asked that too, like at the beginning, because at the beginning when I was doing classes, I would have like 6 people in the class. So, and still there was a level of like, oh my goodness. And but what I would say is, and one of the things that, I would talk about is, what if you've misidentified that energy of fear and it's actually excitement? Because it's like this unknown, and we are so psychic. Like, we pick up on everybody else. Like, how many people walk into a party and they want to have a friend with them because they're like, oh my God, well, what happens if I have no one to talk to? This whole thing. So you've got this buddy, but everybody else in the room has the same stuff going on. And so we pick up on that, and we pick up on all of those thoughts, feelings, and emotions of other people, and then start to, buy it as ours. So there's one tool that I would give you, which is brilliant, is asking the question of, who does this belong to? Right. And it's not like finding out and going, it's the guy in the second row, it's like, it's just going, well, who does this belong to?
Yep.
And because we buy into it. And when it lightens up, it's not yours. Okay. So that's number one. And it's like knowing that you can just be you no matter what, which is a tough thing to step into. And it takes time, and it's a muscle. You know, it's like going to the gym. It's like you got to build the muscles. So knowing that when you step on stage or whatever it is that you're choosing, it's like being you is one of the greatest gifts, and also one of the most attractive things in the world. Like someone standing up and saying something by rote, or, trying to be like somebody else, everyone gets bored. But when you actually stand up and you talk, and you're talking from you, it's like, it's different. It doesn't matter if and even if you went, I forgot what I was going to say. Wow. And
I do that when I'm coaching.
Yeah. It's like, but it's okay.
Shit, I forgot.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, so then what else, So, but when I started off with these 6 people, now it's like the last couple of years, it's like online is really different as well. Right now I've got my gym pants on and it's like, but it's different, but on stage it's different too. It's like there's hundreds of people now. And I guess I walk on and know I trust myself, and I trust the tools that I'm using. Like I trust what I'm choosing. I'm not trying to sell someone something that, doesn't work or anything like that. And it's like, they get to choose. You choose if you desire this or not, and whatever. It's like, so I guess it's relaxing with it and using that energy as a fuel as well. Because I would say one thing I've definitely learned is I'm not actually afraid or scared or have the fear. I get really excited. And the next time you are fearful of something, I would ask the question, is this fear or is this excitement? Because it just takes, as a kid, it takes one thing to occur and you're really excited about something. And then, your parent or someone around you goes, oh, well, don't be scared. And then you identify, oh, that feeling of excitement is fear. And it's like, what if it's not? Like, what if everything you've been taught about fear, you found out was a lie, and it was actually your enthusiasm for living? So I would go with that. And it's like, and just do it. Like, Brene Brown does this great piece, and it's the vulnerability piece that she talks about. And when she says, you're on stage, you're going to get people to judge you. That's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
But who's judging you? Oh, those people who are sitting down that aren't on stage. And it's like, I loved when she spoke about that, because it's so true. Yeah. And how many times do you go to stop doing and choosing what you're choosing based on other people's judgments? And what I would say is, look at your life and look at what you're choosing, and then look at their life and look at what they're choosing, not based on judgment, but are they judging you, or are they judging what they have not yet chosen and might never choose? And for me, that was a really big piece, because I almost quit doing what I was doing, 15 years ago, based on other people's judgments. And when this friend of mine, Gary, spoke to me about this, and I looked at it and went, oh God, I'm choosing so much more. They might not choose it. It doesn't matter. That's not relevant. But I was about to quit based on these guys were judging me. I was like, wow, how many things have you quit in life based on other people who are judging your family? Like, my family, my father has passed away now, brilliant man. He got me. And just before he died, he said to me, I'm so sorry, nobody else in the family gets you. And I went, it's okay, Dad. And he was like, no, your mother will never get you. And he said, I'm really sorry. And I went, it's okay. But if I chose less than so that I could, appease my family, then who am I making happy? You're never going to make them happy. It's like, so choosing all of you, no matter what judgments or projections are around, it's like you'll have more of you by choosing that.
Thank you. That was freaking amazing.
Well,
Simone, thanks so much for sharing what you just did. That was, that last part just got me. That's really powerful. And I'm so happy for you that, you've stepped into your fullness and that you are your full expression, and that's what changes the world,
and what if it's just the beginning?
Yeah, it is.
What else?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's still so, I know myself, with just what you've shared with me, that there's still so much for you to do. and for people to impact and for more creation, more creationships.
Yes.
That's an awesome word too. But yeah, I just want to say thank you for coming on the Luke Mind Power podcast and spending some of your precious time, because this is something that we can't buy. I know that everybody listening is going to get so much from you. Where can we find you on your social media platforms, on your website?
Well, I have a really good name for Googling because there is no other Simone Milasas in the world that I've discovered. So it's literally my name, Simone, Simone, Milasas, Milasas. That's my Instagram, Facebook, website, all of it. And also accessconsciousness.com. You can go there and find everything.
Amazing. Well, I'll make sure that I put all those details for you in the show notes, in the podcast, and on YouTube as well, in the description. So Simone, thank you so much for, again, coming on, sharing your power. Congratulations on all of your success and everything that you've achieved. It's a privilege for me to interview you and to spend some time with you. The future is unwritten, but we're the ones that make the choices to create new opportunities and new experiences. And so, I always say this, who knows, I may see you on stage. I may interview again, probably for sure. And maybe see you at one of your workshops. A couple of years ago, I would always say that when I buy my first house, it's going to be a castle. So the fact that you have a castle is freaking amazing. So maybe one day I'll go and visit that castle. But yeah, thank you so much.
We would love to have you at the castle.
Absolutely. But yeah, thanks so much for jumping on. It's been amazing.
Thank you for having me, Luke.